Dax Ren never expected his life to take this turn. He was just a cargo hauler, running standard deliveries between planets, staying out of trouble and keeping to himself. Nothing in his career had ever prepared him for what he was about to experience. His ship hummed quietly, traveling through the empty expanse of space. But today, there was something different about the air inside. As usual, he was heading back from a remote mining colony on the edge of the galaxy. It's a simple trip, a few crates of supplies, and a quick turnaround. That was all. But as he walked through the darkened control room, something caught his eye. Door he'd never noticed before. The metallic surface gleamed faintly in the dim light, etched with alien symbols he didn't understand. It had always been there, but he had never thought to investigate. His ship was old, maybe even ancient. By the looks of it, and he wasn't in the habit of digging into every hidden corner. But today was different. Dax found himself standing in front of it, his curiosity getting the better of him. What was behind that door? A storage room, an old control panel. Maybe a part of the ship he hadn't discovered yet. He pressed a button. On the wall beside it, half expecting it to be locked. Instead, with a soft click, the door slid open. Inside, the air felt colder. The room was dimly lit, and the walls were lined with strange glowing panels and holographic projections. At the center of the room stood a tall, humanoid figure encased in a sleek, silver suit. The figure was still, lifeless, as if waiting for something. Dax's heart beat a little faster. It was a woman, but not any woman he had ever seen before. Her figure was elegant, graceful, but the suit she wore seemed to be made of advanced technology. There were no visible joints, no seams, just a smooth, shiny surface that glimmered in the soft light. Her face was covered by a helmet. But the design looked like something out of a science fiction novel, something far beyond Earth's current tech. What was this? Some kind of automated soldier. A piece of forgotten technology. He took a cautious step forward, but before he could get any closer, the lights in the room flared to life. The hologram shifted, and the figure slowly came to life. Her eyes flickered open, glowing a soft golden hue as she looked straight at him. The helmet lifted, revealing a face that took Dax's breath away. Her features were flawless, almost inhuman in their symmetry. Her skin had a metallic sheen, a soft silver color that seemed to change depending on the light. She was impossibly beautiful. "Who are you?" Dax asked, stepping back in surprise. "What is this place?" The woman's lips parted, and her voice was soft but firm. "I am Alira, combat and mating protocol model, designated by the Taraxian Empire. You have activated my mating protocol. You cannot leave until the bond is complete." Dax blinked, unsure if he had heard her right. "Mating protocol? What are you talking about?" His voice was tight, almost panicked. Alira stepped forward, her movements precise and controlled, like she had been programmed for this very moment. "You have triggered the mating protocol. This cannot be undone. You are now bound by it. I am your designated partner. You will remain here until the bond is fulfilled." Dax's mind raced. As he tried to understand what was happening, he had just opened a door. That was it. How had this bond happened? What had he activated? And why was she acting like this? His heart pounded in his chest as he realized the situation was spiraling out of his control. "I don't know what kind of mistake this is," Dax said, his voice rising with panic. "I didn't activate anything. I just opened a damn door. This isn't what I signed up for." Alira's gaze remained steady as she slowly advanced. "The protocol has been activated. There is no turning back. You are now my partner. Process will begin." Dax's mind was reeling. He turned and rushed back toward the door, hoping to escape. But it slammed shut with a loud thud as soon as his hand touched the handle. He tried again, his heart racing, but the door refused to open. Panic set in as he realized he was trapped. "I can't do this," Dax said, his voice shaking. "I don't even know who you are." "I'm not." He couldn't finish his sentence. He didn't even know what he was trying to say anymore. "You are my partner now," Alira said simply, her tone as calm as ever. "I will not allow you to leave. You will fulfill your role, and the process will be completed. Who the hell programmed you?" Dax shouted, his breath coming faster now. "You can't just force someone into this. I don't want to be part of your ... protocol. I'm not even sure I understand what's happening." Alira didn't flinch. "The protocol is clear. You activated it. Now you will stay, and you will bond with me." The more she spoke, the more Dax's stomach churned. He was being forced into something he didn't understand, something far beyond anything he could have imagined. But the worst part was the way she spoke, like this was simply part of her programming. Like there was no room for negotiation, no way to change what had already been set in motion. Dax's head spun as he realized the cold reality of the situation. There was no way out. He was trapped on this ship with an alien woman who had just activated a mating protocol. He didn't know how this was possible or why it was happening. But one thing was clear. He wasn't getting off this ship until she said so. "Let me go." He shouted one last time, his voice cracking with frustration. "I don't want this. I don't want you." But Alira simply stood there, her golden eyes glowing faintly. "The bond has begun, Terran. And you will remain until it is complete." Dax backed away slowly, his mind still racing, his heart heavy with the weight of his words. There was no escape. He had no idea what this bond meant, what it would cost him, but whatever happened next, he knew his life had changed forever. The silence inside the control room was deafening as Dax paced back and forth. His thoughts were a tangled mess. How had things gone so wrong? All he'd done was open a door that had been there since he'd bought the ship. And now, this strange woman Alira was standing in front of him, claiming that he had activated some sort of mating protocol. He could still hear her words echoing in his head. "You are now bound to me. You will remain here until the bond is fulfilled." The cold metal walls of his ship had never felt so confining. He had always been alone in space, but now the isolation felt different. It wasn't just the emptiness of space that weighed on him, it was the looming presence of Alira and the strange, terrifying protocol she claimed had been triggered. Dax stopped pacing and rubbed his face with both hands, trying to think. He had been in tight situations before. He'd been chased by space pirates, evaded galactic law enforcement on a few occasions, and even survived a few asteroid showers. But none of that had ever prepared him for this. "You can't just keep me here," Dax said, his voice shaking. He turned to Alira, who had been standing silently, watching him. "I don't know what you think this is, but I didn't agree to any of this. I opened a door, I pressed a button. That's it. I didn't activate any mating protocol." Alira's golden eyes glowed softly in the dim light of the control room. "The mating protocol has been activated. It is a process designed by the Taraxian Empire. Once triggered, it cannot be undone. You and I are now bound. There is no escape from this bond." Dax's heart was pounding in his chest. He couldn't understand it. She was too calm, too precise. In her words, like this was just another task she had been assigned to complete. But Dax wasn't a machine. He wasn't some random person who could be put through a protocol like this. "I don't care who programmed you." Dax shouted, "I'm not staying here with you. This is insane. I'm just a cargo hauler. I didn't sign up for any of this." Alira didn't flinch. Her expression didn't change. She simply stepped closer, her voice calm as ever. You did not need to sign up. The protocol was activated the moment you interacted with the ship's systems. The process has begun. You will comply. His frustration reached its peak. Dax tried the door again, hoping for some miracle, but it remained firmly locked. His ship wasn't his anymore. The moment he had activated that protocol, it had become hers. And it wasn't just the ship. It was him. He was stuck here, trapped in a situation that didn't make any sense. How is this even possible? He asked, his voice low, his anger simmering beneath the surface. How can you just take control of me like this? I'm a person, not a specimen for your protocol. You are not a specimen, she responded, her voice almost gentle now, though the words still held the same unyielding authority. You are my partner. You were chosen. This bond is not only necessary for our species, but it is also part of your destiny. You've been selected to help create the next generation of Taraxian and Terran hybrids. Dax's mind reeled at the mention of hybrids. Couldn't believe what he was hearing. Wait, hybrids? Are you telling me that this isn't just some crazy thing you're doing? That you're trying to make some hybrid aliens? That is exactly what I am saying, Alira replied. The Taraxian Empire has struggled for centuries to ensure the survival of our species. The mating protocol was created as a solution. Your species, Terran, was chosen due to your physical strength, resilience, and genetic compatibility. You are now part of that solution. Dax took a step back. The world around him seemed to tilt. He had stumbled into an alien empire's plan, without realizing it, and now he was trapped in it. But I don't even know you, Dax said, almost pleading. How can you just make me your ... mate? We don't even have a relationship. I don't know anything about you, and you certainly don't know anything about me. I know enough, Alira said, her eyes narrowing. I know that you are capable, adaptable, and you carry the strength of your species. That is all I need to know. Dax felt his chest tighten. He didn't want to be a part of this. He didn't want to be a pawn in some alien empire's experiment. He wasn't even sure how this bond worked. It didn't mean he had to stay with her forever. Was he supposed to be with her in every sense of the word? Was this some kind of alien love story gone horribly wrong? I don't want this, Dax said quietly, more to himself than to her. I didn't ask for any of this. I just want to go back to my life, to Earth. Alira's gaze softened, but only slightly. You cannot go back. You are now bound by the Taraxian protocol. You will stay here, with me, until the bond is complete. There is no other way. Dax slumped against the wall, exhausted. His mind was spinning with all the possibilities. None of them were good. He had never been so powerless. He had no choice, no way to escape. His only option was to stay and try to figure out what this bond truly meant, what he was supposed to do now, and maybe, just maybe, how to escape the nightmare he had accidentally walked into. Days passed, and Dax began to feel the suffocating weight of his decision settling deeper into his bones. He wasn't sure if it was the isolation or the constant presence of Alira that was wearing him down. But either way, he was losing his sense of time. Every hour felt like a day, and every day felt like an eternity. He still couldn't believe this was his reality. Trapped on a ship with an alien woman who had activated some mysterious mating protocol. And no matter how much he wanted to escape, the doors wouldn't open. The systems wouldn't respond to his commands. He was stuck in this endless loop with no way out. Alira was always there, always watching, always waiting. She didn't demand much from him, not yet. She simply followed him around, kept him under surveillance, and never once let him out of her sight. It was as if his every move was being monitored. Even when he slept, he felt her eyes on him. It made him feel like a prisoner. Even though she hadn't physically restrained him, he couldn't understand her. One moment, she was cold and distant, giving him nothing but orders. The next, she was almost kind. She would sit across from him at meals, speaking about things that seemed completely foreign to him. She spoke of the Taraxian Empire, its struggles, its ambitions, and how vital this bond between them was to the survival of both species. But the more she talked, the more confused Dax became. What did he have to do with any of this? He was just a regular human, a cargo hauler. Why had he been chosen? Why couldn't she just let him go back to Earth? One evening, as the two of them sat across from each other in the ship's dining area, Dax couldn't take the silence any longer. Why me? Dax blurted out, his voice rough. Why not someone else? Why did you have to choose me for this, this? Bandolera didn't immediately respond. She just stared at him, her golden eyes reflecting the soft light of the room. For a moment, Dax wondered if she was considering his question or if she was just calculating her next move. Finally, she spoke. Your species was selected for your resilience. You are adaptable, strong, and intelligent. You possess qualities we need. And you, double quotes. She hesitated for a brief moment. You are the one who activated the protocol. This wasn't by accident. You were chosen. That doesn't answer my question, Dax snapped, slamming his hand down on the table. Why me? What makes me so special? Alira leaned back, studying him with those emotionless eyes. The protocol was activated because you were ready. You unknowingly triggered it, but it was always going to happen. You and I are linked now. Whether you accept it or not, the bond between us is real. Dax gritted his teeth, the frustration and anger boiling inside him. He couldn't believe he was hearing this. He had never signed up for any of it. There had to be some way out of this. He couldn't just live his life tied to her. He wasn't even sure what that meant yet. I don't want this, he growled. I didn't ask for any of this. You're telling me I'm stuck here because of some weird alien protocol? Alira didn't flinch at his outburst. You are not stuck. You are part of something much larger than yourself. You were chosen to help ensure the future of both our races. Your refusal only delays the inevitable. The bond must be completed. Don't. You get it? Dax shouted. I don't care about your empire. Ka. I don't care about any of it. Ka, not your mate. You are, Alira said quietly, her voice almost soothing. And you will come to understand why this is necessary. You will not escape. This is fate, Terran, and we must accept our fates. Dax pushed away from the table, pacing across the room, trying to clear his mind, but it wasn't working. The more he thought about it, the more he felt trapped. There was no escape hatch to flee from. It wasn't just his ship anymore, was her ship. T was stuck in her web. And the more he fought, the more it felt like the walls were closing in on him. Alira stood up and approached him slowly, her golden eyes never leaving his. You still do not understand, do you? She asked softly. This bond is not just for survival, it is for peace. Your species and mine, together, will create something stronger than either of us could build alone. Dax stopped, turning to face her. Her words had changed. They didn't feel like commands anymore. They felt almost real. He saw something in her eyes now, something softer. A flicker of humanity, or something like it. I don't want to be your partner, he said quietly, the anger finally giving way to exhaustion. I just want to go home. I don't know what you want from me, but I can't stay here forever. Alira took a step closer, standing just inches away from him. For a moment, she said nothing. Her gaze softened, and Dax felt something shift. "Between them, you are part of me now, Dax Wren," she said, her voice low. "You always have been, and soon you will accept this. The bond will be complete. Whether you like it or not." His heart pounded in his chest. This wasn't what he wanted. This wasn't what he signed up for. But he had no choice. For the first time, Dax wasn't sure if he wanted to escape. He wasn't sure if he could. And he wasn't sure if he could live with the consequences of his decision. Days turned into weeks, and still, Dax couldn't escape the suffocating presence of Alira. She was always there, silent, calm, watching, waiting. He had grown used to her gaze, the way her golden eyes seemed to penetrate him with an intensity that left him feeling exposed. But nothing felt normal anymore. Nothing felt right. They weren't talking anymore. Not really. The few exchanges they had were strained, mostly about the protocol and the bond they were supposed to share. Every time Dax tried to defy her to push back, she simply responded with the same words: "You cannot escape this. The bond is inevitable." Her voice was always calm, always certain. And no matter what he said, no matter how many times he tried to plead for a way out, she never wavered. He had started to feel like a prisoner in his own ship. The walls, which once felt like a safe place, now felt like a cage. His room was the only place he could go to find some peace. But even there, he wasn't truly alone. There was always a sense that she was watching him, listening to every word, waiting for him to accept what had been forced upon him. But no matter how many times she told him he was part of something greater, no matter how many times she spoke of peace, survival, and future generations, Dax just couldn't shake the feeling that he didn't belong here. That this wasn't his fate to choose. It wasn't until one night, as he sat alone in the darkened control room, that something changed. The quiet hum of the ship's systems filled the air, but the silence between them was deafening. Dax had been staring at the control panel, his hands gripping the armrests of the seat. He couldn't remember the last time he had slept. His thoughts were too loud, his mind too chaotic to rest. Then there was a soft chime, and the door slid open. Alira stepped inside, her silhouette illuminated by the dim light of the corridor. She was silent as always, but tonight there was something different in the air between them, something that made Dax's heart race. He turned toward her, his voice sharp. "What do you want now?" Alira didn't answer immediately. She stepped closer, standing just a few feet away from him. For the first time, Dax saw something else in her eyes, something that wasn't cold or calculating. There was a flicker of hesitation, a trace of uncertainty. "I know this is difficult for you," she said quietly. "I know you did not choose this. I did not choose it either. But there are things that must be done. The bond between us is not just about survival. It is about the future. It is about what we can build together." Dax stood up, his fists clenched. "I don't care about your future. I don't care about your empire. I just want to go home. I don't belong here." "You do belong here," Alira said softly, her voice almost soothing. "You are not just some ... tool to be used. You are my partner. You are the only one who can help ensure that both our species survive. And in time, you will see that this bond is not something forced upon you. It is something that will make us stronger." Dax's frustration boiled over. "You keep saying that, but I don't want this. I don't want to be your partner. I don't want to be part of this empire. I just want to be free. I want to go back to Earth. You can't keep me here." Alira's gaze never faltered. She took a slow step forward, her presence filling the room. "You are already bound to me. There is no going back. The bond is real. It is something we will both accept. It is the key to our survival." Dax felt his heart race as she moved closer. I'm not going to accept it. I can't. I'm not. Ready for this? I don't know what kind of future you think we're going to have, but I don't see it. Elira's expression softened, and for the first time, Dax saw a glimpse of something else, something almost human in her eyes. You will, in time. I know this is hard for you. It is hard for me as well, but we cannot deny this. We cannot change what has already been set in motion. The future of our species depends on this bond. Dax looked at her, his chest tightening. It wasn't that he didn't understand what she was saying. It was that he couldn't accept it. He wasn't ready to be part of this alien world. He wasn't ready to be a part of her plans. He had always been a lone wolf, drifting from place to place, following his own path. And now, that path had been ripped away from him, replaced with an alien empire's expectations, and an alien woman who seemed to hold the power to destroy him or save him, but he couldn't stay here forever. He couldn't live in this uncertainty. You said you didn't choose this, Dax said, his voice quieter now. But neither did I, and I'm not sure I can live like this. You talk about survival, but what about my survival? What happens to me in all of this? Elira stood silently for a moment, then nodded slowly. I understand your fear. I understand your hesitation, but I will not force you to do anything. The bond is not about force. It is about choice. It is about what we can accomplish together. Dax felt his frustration rise again. How can I trust you? How can I trust any of this? Elira took another step toward him. Trust is something that must be built over time, and I am here, Dax Ren, to help you build that trust. You are not alone in this. You never will be. Dax's heart beat loudly in his chest. He didn't know what was happening between them. He didn't know what would come next. But one thing was certain. He couldn't stay trapped like this forever. The bond was real. But what did it mean for him? And more importantly, what did it mean for his future? Dax couldn't remember the last time he'd felt truly alone. Even in the quiet of his room, Elira's presence loomed over him. It wasn't just physical. He could feel her eyes on him when she wasn't in the same room, a constant weight, pressing down on him. Her words from the day before still echoed in his head, replaying over and over again. You are not alone in this. You never will be. That thought gnawed at him. You never will be. He hadn't signed up for any of this. He hadn't asked to be the partner of an alien. He hadn't asked to be tied to an empire he didn't understand. And yet, here he was, bound by something he couldn't escape. The protocol. The bond. All of it was real, and it felt suffocating. He spent his days trying to avoid her. Not because he hated her. He didn't know enough about her to feel hatred, but because every conversation, they had only served to remind him how trapped he was. She would approach him with her calm, emotionless demeanor, explaining the necessity of the bond, telling him that it was for the survival of both their species. But every time she did, it felt like she was pushing him further away. It was a sunny day on the ship when it happened. Dax had spent the entire morning in the control room, fiddling with the ship's systems, trying to find any way to break free. He had tried everything he could think of, locking doors, deactivating the ship's core systems, anything to break the bond. But no matter what he did, it was always the same. The systems would reset. The doors would unlock only to lock themselves. Again, as he was lost in thought, Elira entered the room. She didn't knock. She didn't need to. She was always welcome on the ship, her presence as natural as the hum of the engines. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him, as if waiting for something. The silence stretched on, and Dax finally turned to face her. I can't keep living like this, he said, his voice low but firm. I can't keep pretending like I'm okay with all this. You don't understand what it's like to have your life taken from you. To be forced into something you never asked for. Lyra's golden eyes softened for a brief moment, but her expression remained calm. I understand more than you think, Dax Ren. She replied softly. You are afraid. I know that. But this bond is not a punishment. It is a gift. The future of our species depends on this. It depends on you. You keep saying that. Dax snapped, his frustration bubbling over. But you don't get it. I'm not some ... chosen one here. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't ask for any of this. I did not choose this either, Alira said, stepping closer. I did not choose to have my life dictated by the protocol. But it is the way things must be. For the survival of my people. For your people, you will come to understand this, Dax. We are not alone in the universe. We are not the only ones fighting for survival. Her words struck a chord in Dax, but he wasn't ready to accept them. Not yet. I don't care about your empire, he muttered. I don't care about what you think is best for us. I just want my freedom. I just want to go back to Earth. You have freedom, Alira said, her voice unwavering. The freedom to choose how you will live in this bond. You are not trapped. You are free to choose how we move forward. But you must make that choice. Soon. Dax was quiet for a moment, his eyes staring at the floor. He wanted to scream. He wanted to fight. But he knew it wouldn't do any good. Alira was right in one sense. He did have a choice, but it wasn't a choice that would set him free. It was a choice between two paths, both of them leading him. Further into this mess, Alira didn't speak for a while, letting the silence stretch between them. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it was heavy. The tension hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Finally, she spoke again, her voice softer this time. I know this is hard for you. It is not easy to accept, but you must. This bond will be complete, whether you want it or not. But I am here to make it easier for you. I will not force you. You will come to understand in time, but the future depends on us. Dax didn't know how to respond. He didn't know what he was supposed to feel. He didn't know if he could ever accept this. But deep down, a small part of him knew that this wasn't going to end easily. Whether he liked it or not, his future was now tied to Alira and the Corellian Empire. There was no running away from it. And the more he thought about it, the more he realized that he couldn't escape. Not without risking everything. I don't know if I'll ever accept this, Dax said quietly, his voice almost defeated. But I can't just stay here, pretending like it's all going to be okay. You don't have to pretend, Alira replied, her voice steady. You will find your place in this bond. You will find your purpose. And in time, you will see that this is what was meant to be. Dax turned away from her, his mind reeling. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready to be her partner. But maybe there was a chance to find a way out. A way to make this work. To find some peace in the chaos. But that wouldn't happen overnight. It would take time, and time was something Dax wasn't sure he had. The days bled into each other, each one feeling like the last. Dax had long stopped trying to figure out how he ended up in this situation. It was as if he were caught in some strange loop, and the more he struggled, the tighter the chains of fate seemed to bind him. Alira was still here, still beside him every moment of every day. She watched him with those golden eyes, always so calm, so composed. She would give him space when he asked, but she never truly left him alone. Every time he tried to escape into his own thoughts, there she was standing just out of reach. Her presence undeniable. He hated the way he had started to depend on her. It wasn't love. It wasn't even affection. It was something darker. Something that made him feel like a part of her now. a bond that felt unbreakable. It was more than physical. It was emotional, even if he didn't want to admit it. The more time they spent together, the more he could feel it. The connection between them was undeniable. "You're quiet today," Alira said one evening, her voice smooth as she entered the room. She had become so familiar to him now that her presence no longer startled him. She moved with grace, every step calculated, as if her every action was part of a larger plan that he couldn't quite see. Dax glanced up from where he was sitting by the ship's controls. He had tried to fix the navigation system earlier, but now it was just another piece of the ship that he couldn't control. The weight of it all was starting to get to him. He had tried everything. He had been trapped in this endless cycle, and there was nothing left to fight. "I'm just thinking," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "I can't stop thinking about everything, about what happens next." "What do you think will happen?" Alira asked, stepping closer. There was no judgment in her voice, only curiosity. "You know what must be done. You are already part of the bond, and your role is clear." Dax's fingers tightened around the edge of his chair, his jaw set in frustration. "I didn't want this. I didn't choose this." His voice cracked with the weight of his own words. He had said them countless times, but they never felt any less true. He had tried so hard to fight it, but now he was beginning to wonder if it was hopeless. "How do I just ... accept this?" Lyra's gaze softened for a moment, but her tone remained steady. "Acceptance does not come easily, but it comes. I know it is difficult for both of us, but this bond is necessary. You will understand in time. The future of our species depends on it." Dax stood abruptly, turning to face her. His fists clenched at his sides, his chest tight with frustration. "But I'm not your partner, Alira. I'm not some tool for your empire's survival. I'm a person. I'm a human, and I was never supposed to be caught up in this." She stepped forward, her presence imposing yet calm. "I know you are a person, Dax Ren, and I respect that. But you are not just a human. You are a part of something larger now. Whether you accept it or not, we are connected. This bond exists between us. It cannot be undone. Why can't you just let me go?" Dax's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't want this. I don't want any of it. I just want my life back. I want to be free." For a moment, Alira's expression faltered, the flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. It was only for a second, but it was enough for Dax to notice. She wasn't as immune to this as she seemed. Even she had her doubts. But she pushed them aside, her face hardening as her duty took over. "I cannot let you go," she said quietly, but with finality. "It is not just my choice. It is the Empire's choice. The bond has been initiated, and you are bound to it. The survival of both our species depends on this connection." Dax swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling deep in his chest. There was no easy way out. He couldn't escape the consequences of his actions, of the choices he had made, and the ones he had yet to make. "I don't want to be part of your empire," he said, his voice low but firm. "I never asked for this. I just want a way out." "There is no way out," Alira replied softly. "But you will learn to accept it. In time, you will see that this bond is necessary. You will see that you are more than just a human. You are the key to the future." Dax turned away from her, his eyes on the ship's window. The stars stretched out before him, mendless, distant, and cold. There was a strange beauty to the view, but it felt hollow now. He wasn't free. He wasn't the man he had been before all of this started. His future wasn't his own. He was bound to a woman he barely understood, and to an empire he didn't want to be part of. He sighed, his breath heavy with the weight of everything. "I don't know if I can do this." "You don't have to do anything, Dax," Alira said, her voice softer now. You only have to accept. In time, you will see that it is for the greater good. You will learn that this bond is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. He didn't know if he would ever embrace it, but for now, he had no choice. He couldn't leave. He couldn't run. He was trapped, and there was only one thing he could do. Now wait. Time had a strange way of working aboard the ship now. Days felt like minutes, and minutes felt like hours. Dax had spent what felt like a lifetime trapped between the walls of his own decisions, every moment weighed down by the heavy presence of Alira and the bond they had shared, whether he liked it or not. At first, he had tried to fight it, to deny what was happening. But as the days wore on, something shifted inside him. He began to realize that he couldn't keep living in resistance. The bond was there, whether he accepted it or not. The connection between him and Alira, the strange, undeniable force that seemed to pull them together, was real. He had always believed that he was a man of freedom, a man who had the right to make his own choices, to carve his own path. But now, that path seemed to be paved for him, and there was no way to walk away from it. There was no way to escape this reality. Dax stood in front of the large window of the ship, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. His hand was pressed against the cool glass, and he could almost feel the emptiness of space outside, as if it mirrored the emptiness he felt inside. He didn't want this. He didn't want to be a part of the Kirelian Empire. He didn't want to be a part of their plan. He didn't want to be her partner. But in a way, he had already made his choice. The moment he had activated the protocol, everything had changed. There was no going back. He was bound by his actions. He was bound to her. And there was no way to undo what had been done. Dax, Lyra's voice came from behind him, calm and soothing, but still unyielding. He turned slowly, meeting her gaze. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim light of the ship's control room. She had always been so controlled, so composed, but now, for the first time, Dax could see the smallest trace of uncertainty in her gaze. She didn't look like the unshakable force she once had. For a brief moment, she seemed ... human. But only for a moment. I know this has not been easy for you, she said, taking a step closer. I know that you did not choose this. I did not choose this either. But now we must accept what has been given to us for the future of both our people. Dax swallowed, his throat tight. I don't know if I can ever accept this. I don't know if I'll ever be able to see this as something good. Alira paused for a moment, as if considering his words. Then she spoke softly, her voice almost gentle. It is not about seeing it as good or bad. It is about seeing it as necessary. The survival of my people and the survival of yours depends on us. Our bond is the key. And that is not something you can change. It is something you must embrace. Dax stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. He had fought against this for so long, but in the quiet of this moment, with the vastness of space surrounding him, he began to realize something. Maybe this wasn't just about survival. Maybe it was about something more, something he had never considered. Perhaps the bond between them wasn't just about the future of their species. Perhaps it was about the future of his life as well. Maybe this was the only path forward. And maybe, just maybe, he had been too afraid to accept it. I don't want to be part of your empire, he said softly, more to himself than to her. I don't want to be bound to anyone, but I'm starting to realize that maybe I don't have a choice. Maybe this ... bond is something I need to accept. Alira stepped closer, her gaze steady and understanding. You do not need to fight anymore, Dax. You are not a prisoner. You are my partner. And in time, you will see that this bond is not a prison. It is a future we can create together. Dax didn't know if he could ever truly believe that the idea of accepting the bond of accepting her was still foreign to him. But in that moment, as he stood with Alira, something inside him shifted. He wasn't sure if he was ready to embrace the future she spoke of, but he knew one thing for certain: he couldn't keep fighting it. Not anymore. Not when it was clear that this bond-esque connection was something he was meant to face. Even if he didn't understand it. Even if he didn't want it. As the stars outside the ship's window sparkled, Dax took a deep breath. Maybe this wasn't the end of his story. Maybe this was the beginning of something he couldn't control. Something that would change him forever. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll try. I'll accept this bond. But I don't know where it's going to take us." Lyra gave a small nod, her eyes glowing softly in the darkness. "That is all I ask. Together, we will find our path." And with that, Dax finally allowed himself to accept the truth that had been in front of him all along. There was no going back. But maybe, just maybe, there was something to be found in this bond. Something that could change both of their futures forever.